Hello. So this video is going to go over how to do our face close-up project. So the project is basically a very simple one. You are going to get a photograph of a face. So this is a photograph. It's from a book of faces photographed by an artist, Ken O'Hara, who photographed people in New York City. And you're going to take a photograph and you're simply going to draw it exactly. So this is a drawing. And I don't have the same photo, but the idea is really simple. You're going to get a photo and then you're going to draw it. And what I love about this project is that so far in class, we have studied the face, but we really talked about the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. And these photographs are really focused on the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. We don't have to worry about the ears, the neck, different types of hair. So it's that simple. So let's talk about how you're going to start. We're going to do one step that's a little bit odd before we even begin on our final draft. That step involves a sheet of scratch paper. And so I'm just going to scribble on it so you know this is not my drawing, this is scratch paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it 3 times in a hot dog fold. So here's my paper, my scratch paper. I'm folding it once. So that's 1 hot dog. Then I'm going to fold it a second time. That's 2. And then a third and last time. That's 3. And all I want are these creases. So it doesn't have to be perfect. I just want strips of paper. So here's my scratch. And now I'm going to cut these into strips. And I think for this demonstration, I just need about 2 of these strips. So I still have that paper. I can cut more strips if I need it. But to start off, I just need 2. Let's set this aside. This is all ready. And now we're going to actually start on the project. So I've got a photograph. And one of the secrets to this project is it is exclusively a seeing drawing project. So we're going to draw it exactly as we see it. And drawing it exactly means even the exact same size. So I'm going to line up my picture on my paper, and I'm going to trace So I want my drawing the exact same size. And that's really important. It's hard making a picture smaller than your reference, and it's even harder to make it bigger. So what's neat is that by making it the exact same size, our brain doesn't have to translate anything. So I'm going to trim my paper down. There we go. So here's my trimmed paper, and it should be now the exact same size as my photograph. This is actually that true meaning of it's going to be apples to apples. We're going to draw the same thing. Now that I have my paper the exact same size, the secret is everything's going to line up exactly. There's no translating it to a different size. What I mean is, if the eyes on this drawing are this far, or photograph this far from the top, it's going to be the same distance in my drawing. So what I can do is I can overlap my paper and photograph, make sure I line it up precisely. And if this person's eyes end here on the photograph, they're going to end there on my drawing. And same on the other side. His eyes kind of end here. So I can do a lot of measurements, like his eyebrows go up and they go off the page right here. So they'll go off the page in the same place for me. That's what's neat about doing this the exact same size. So I think the nose is right about here, and the mouth is right about here. So eyes, nose, mouth. Now, this is where the strip of paper comes in. I can check my work. I'm going to take this strip of paper and put it on my photograph and just record some measurements. Here's what I mean. Here's my photograph, and I'm going to lay this paper down the middle, and I can just mark where the mouth, the nose, and kind of like the eyes are. And it is important, I've lined it up with the bottom of the photo. I have to have that constant. And I don't have to draw all this, but this might help the visual just for the... So see how those measurements exist? Now I'm going to move those measurements over to my drawing. So I'll slide this out of the way. And just like the photograph, I'm going to make sure my strip of paper is lined up with the bottom. And the mouth is going to be somewhere in here, the lips. The bottom of the nose is going to be here. So you can see my nose line was a little bit off. And the eyes are going to line up here. So you can start using these strips of paper to measure anything you want. And I'll show you a next measurement, and I'll show you why we're using the strips of paper. So maybe I want to measure like the nose, where it is. You can imagine if I had to use a ruler, some of those measurements I'd get is, let's see, the nose is 1 inch and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7/16 from the edge. I don't want to do all those measurements. So what's easier is I can just take my strip of paper and I'm going to measure from the edge. And I'm just going to make a mark. This is how wide the nose is. And just a little aside, don't be thrown off. Noses are big and wide. So something you're not going to have to do, but just again, to demonstrate in this video, I go from the edge. Obviously the nose is this far in. And when I get into my drawing, the nose will be in that space. So what do? I'm going to transfer this to my drawing. I'm going to line up my nose. And again, I always have to make sure it's all lined up from the edge. And somewhere in here is going to be the nose. Now, as much as I measure, I'm still going to always have to be an artist. I'm still going to have to look. I'll show you this on the eyes. So again, moving to my photo. So I'm going to do measurements, but it's tricky. The face really isn't made of clear shapes and lines. It's all this sort of like smoky, vague clouds. So I'm going to try to measure, but sometimes it's not super clear. So it gives me some nice sort of estimations, but I'm still going to have to eventually be an artist. And draw from observation. What these measurements do is at least I have a good idea that all that time I'm investing in my drawing, things are somewhat in the right place. And there's no steps or rules. You can start measuring whatever you want. Maybe I'll measure the mouth. So here I am. And again, I'm lining up at the edge of the photograph. And from here over, the mouth starts pretty much here. Here's the mouth, and it ends pretty much here. It's kind of a smoky shape. So, and of course, it's this far from the edge. So I'm going to go to the line for my mouth. Again, I need to line up my slip of paper to the edge. So I'm beginning to get the proportions for the face. Then I just sort of start drawing. Now, a skill I think is just so valuable, and I'm going to really encourage you to do, is even now, turn your picture upside down. So your drawing's upside down, your picture's upside down. And what we've studied is that by turning it upside down, we no longer see the face as a face, and as a result, we no longer feel as much of a drive to draw the symbols, and rather we can just really kind of draw what we see, which in the long run is really what we want to do. We've talked a lot about how the left brain gets in the way and starts drawing symbols. One of the problems too is the left brain will also get in the way and will start fixing the face. So the left brain will give you these perfect little symbols, and then they'll start fixing it. Like, well, the eyes should be even, and this person, their mouth should be like this. And that's problematic because people's faces aren't perfect. There are people in this collection of photographs who have broken noses. There are people who might be slightly cross-eyed. So you have to draw what you see. You have to accept the faces for what they are. And what does often happen is the left brain sort of jumps in and wants to fix it, which is the worst thing it can do. And so I'm going to draw lightly, even though I have these measurements. You know, I still may make mistakes. Artists sketch things out. Remember, keep your lines light. The face really doesn't have lines on it, so we want all these lines that we create eventually probably to disappear. This might be a good moment for me to erase some of these lines that I know I'm not going to need. Now, I want to introduce the next challenge. And so we're going to try to continue to develop this drawing, but this might be a good moment to enter the next drawing challenge. And what I want to share with you is that we've been drawing with lines, and lines are good, but the face doesn't really have lines on it. And you know how you know this? What if you right now stopped the video and took out a Sharpie and outlined everything on your face? You know, if I took out the Sharpie and lined my lips and made it clear, lined my eyes, lined my eyebrows, we know that would look strange. So on one hand, we know that's not true, but the scientific left brain wants to, they think that if they outline everything like a coloring book, it'll be better, but it's not. Lines are useful, but what we need to start doing is we need to start drawing with shapes. And actually those shapes need to be kind of smoky. So the Italian term for that is sfumato. That's the Italian word for smoke. Leonardo da Vinci was, if not the developer of it, is the person who mastered it. So let's try to draw with smoky shapes. I'm going to demo that, but before I do, I'm going to just do a little demo on the photograph itself. So here's my photo. And basically what I'm trying to communicate is that when we look at the face, we're really seeing a lot of soft, smoky shapes. And I'm doing this on tracing paper quickly for a demo. But basically what I'm trying to communicate is if I could get these sort of smoky shapes onto my drawing would really start to emerge. So here's my drawing. And you can kind of see if I could get the smokiness onto it, how it really starts becoming the face. So what I would do to do that is I take my pencil, I'm going to choke way back, and I'm just going to start laying in some light grays. What's nice about this process, and really let's do it, is that it's very forgiving. I start with these soft grays. You know, even if I make a mistake, I'm not going to have to erase it. I can go down. I'm looking at this shadow here. And I can just start feathering in. Remember our feather pencil stroke? Feather in the cheeks. So I'm looking at this shape, and again, there's no line. Now, your left brain would tell you, oh, I can find an edge. We don't want to do that. We want to find those smoky shapes. You know, I put a light little line for the lips, but now I'm going to start making that line disappear. You know, it's really tricky. Our brain is going to want to see these clear shapes. And we really want to see soft shapes. And slowly, I can develop this. And it does take time. You know, drawings take a lot of time to develop. Here's one last sort of sfumato technique too, is eventually I want my drawing to match these grays. Look how light my drawing is. So I could start building up my grays. I'm going to choke way back on my pencil. I'm just going to turn this a direction that's comfortable for me. I'm going to start laying in some grays. And because I want it soft and smoky, I can even go right over my drawing. I don't need to worry if it starts disappearing because I can go back and darken things up. If you really look at the photograph you have, there's probably only a few pinpoints of true white on your image. This is so soft and smoky, it actually makes it easier to go through and fix it, start measuring it. I can continue to make any measurements I want. I can eventually start committing, start, you know, really shading some shapes, some careful drawing. But really ask yourself if you're drawing what you see or if you're falling into the trap of drawing what you think should be there. So let me move this sample over. And I've got some classroom samples I've already started on. Let's see which one we should look at. So you can see, you can start blocking in more shapes. Start carefully. I started with this soft general cloud, and now I can really sculpt them exactly. And you're going to keep working on that until you eventually get to a finished point. And that's how we're going to do our face close-up. Is really importantly, we're drawing it the exact same size. So make sure you put your paper on it. Make sure whatever paper you're working on is the exact same as your photograph. Then use the strips of paper to help you measure out, because If his nose is this wide in the photograph, then it should be that wide on your drawing. Don't fix it. So let's see how I did for this demo. So again, this is a extra strip. And so for this photograph, his nose is this wide. So let's see how I did. It goes from here, a little bit wide to there. And that's how you develop this drawing. All right, good luck.